Hey everyone, today we're doing SQLMap room on TryHackMe. This tool teaches you about the SQLMap tool that is used to exploit SQL injection. If you're tired of doing it manually and you do not know how to approach the web application and exploit it manually, then you can use this tool to exploit the uh, SQL injection vulnerabilities automatically. Here on the first task, it tells you what is SQLMap, and it tells you how to install the SQLMap. But if you are using Kali, then it comes pre-installed and you do not need to read this. These are the basic commands. You can take a look at these commands by typing SQLMap-h flag in the terminal, and it will show you stuff like this. We can quickly take a look at that. Just type in SQLMap-h. Oops. Yeah, SQLMap-h. Then you will see a banner of SQLMap and a couple of flags which will tell you how to scan for a specific target, and a couple of more options like spawning a OS shell if the SQL is successful. Also, it tells you it gives you the option if you want to retrieve everything or if you want to retrieve a specific table in a specific column. Like you can specify the -d flag, you can specify the database that you want to retrieve if you already know what database is installed on the box, and what is the name of the database, then you can specify it and it will only go for that database. And if you know what tables are inside the database, suppose there's a table called users, then you can specify -t and it will only go for that users table. You can take a look at this, and the -v is very important. It increases the verbosity level, and if you increase the verbosity level, it will tell you, the tool will tell you, it will output every command that it is using. Dash batch is also useful, as if you use this, the SQLMap will never ask for your input like yes or no. It asks every time. It also says here that it will never ask for user input and it will use a default behavior. Sometimes default behavior is not what we want, so we do not use batch sometimes. Okay, so these are the basic commands. Like you can specify dash URL with the -u, and random agent is used to bypass certain, or you can say WAF. If you don't know what's WAF, then you can take a look at this. WAF is the web application firewall, and it will basically block us if it finds us doing some malicious thing. Like for example, trying to exploit a SQL injection, the web application firewall will block us and we will not be able to enumerate further. And also if it sees incoming request like 100 to 200 requests in just a couple of minutes, then it will also block us. So that is why they use random agent, and it will what will SQLMap do is it will use random agent in the user agent field every time, so in order to confuse, in order to escape this block. Okay, I hope you get this. So we are basically trying to trick the firewall to get past the application, to get past the firewall. Next, it also gives you the level. Uh, so if you want to perform more tests, then you can increase the level to 5 or 4, 3 to 1. It's up to you. 1 is the default, and you can increase it up to 5. Then dash risk is it says right here, risk of test to perform. And risk, it's named risk because these commands are particularly detectable, easily detectable, and if you're sure that if you're in a CTF, then you can of course use this with the level 3 because this is the highest. But if you're in a real penetration test, I will recommend not to use it because it is a very noisy. Suppose if SQLMap has successfully exploited the SQL injection vulnerability and it can get the databases and all the contents of the database, then you can actually specify -a to retrieve everything, like literally every database, every table, and every column. Also with the same things here, that like you can specify the current user to know the what user is currently in the database. Then we have the open system commands, and if SQLMap has successfully exploited the SQL injection vulnerability, then you can use -os shell to prompt for an interactive operating system shell that you can execute commands into, just like CMD in Windows and terminal, of course. Here, -previous is used. So if you specify this, the SQLMap will try to previous. It will try to escalate the privileges to admin user. Here you can see this is a simple HTTP GET based test. Here SQLMap is using, we specify the vulnerable URL with the -u flag, and we also use -dbs to enumerate the database. So this is just a test command, and if the SQLMap successfully exploits the application, then we will see the databases output on our screen. Then we have the post-based test. Suppose you're on a web page and you suspect that this is vulnerable to SQLMap, or you just want to test it. So a post request, then you can pass that post request to your burp, and then just right click on the request, and then you can just click on save item, or you can also copy paste the file. So I literally love doing save item because it's convenient for me. So once you save that file, specify the -r flag with the SQLMap, and it will automatically scan the file. Here in this request, you can see there's a thing, blood group parameter. So what will SQLMap do is it will try to exploit the it will try different tests on this blood group parameter, and it will try to exploit the SQL injection vulnerability. If you specifically want to test the blood group parameter and do not want to test any other things, like SQLMap always try to inject in host or content length in many other headers like user agent. If you do not want all this and just focus on this parameter, then you can use -p flag, and it specify the parameter that you want SQLMap to focus on. Then it will only scan or perform test on the blood group parameter only. Here you can see the command, the SQLMap, and then -r. -r means read the file, and we specify the file here, and then -b to specify the parameter, and then -dbs to enumerate the databases. Here you can say, oops, yeah, here you can see in the parameter blood group, in the post request, it identified the this payload. It identified that the time-based blind is the vulnerability. Also, it is vulnerable to union injection, and you can also see the payload here. Once it exploits, it will enumerate the databases, and you can see here it says the database is blood. It says here, and these are the tables in the blood database. Once we have the tables, we will gather the columns from inside that table. So we specify -d, that is used to specify the database that you want to select. So we typed in blood, and then we specify the table name with the -t flag, that is the blood db, and then we pass on dash columns to enumerate the columns in that specific table inside that specific database. Same goes for the post-based request. We just specify the file here with the -r, and then everything is same, just like above. We can also simply dump all the available databases and tables with just this command. You can specify the database and then just do a -dump all, and it will output every table, every column for you. And it will SQLMap also saves the output in a specific file. I guess it's a .csv extension, not sure. So yeah, -dump all is used to dump everything inside that specific database. So next are the questions. It says which flag or option will allow you to add a URL to the command. It is -u, of course. Then we have which flag would you use to add data to a post request. I'm not really sure about that, so let's take a look at the SQLMap commands. So it's SQLMap -hh. So there are many, and it's hard to look at them, so I'll just use the grab function here, and I'll say post. Okay, so it says data string to be sent through post. I guess this is the one we are looking for, so it's -data. Specify here, submit, and we have the correct answer. Then it says there are two parameters, username and password. How would you tell SQLMap to use the username parameter for the attack? Well, that's simple. We'll know -p is used to specify the parameter, and then parameter name is username. Next question says which flag would you use to show the advanced help menu? It is of course -hh we used just now. Then which flag allows you to retrieve everything? I guess that is -a, and yep, it's -a. We can take a look at what -a shows in the manual of SQLMap. So -a, you can say -a simply says retrieve everything. Next, it says which flag allows you to select the database name. I guess that is -d. Yep, it is. Next, which flag would you use to retrieve database tables? Well, we will use -tables to retrieve the tables inside a specific database. And then same goes for the columns. Then which flag allows you to dump all the database table entries? It is dash dash dump all. So we use dump all to dump everything that is inside a database. Next is it says which flag will give you an interactive SQL shell prompt. Well, that is dash dash. I guess that is SQL shell. It's something like OS shell. Yeah, it's SQL shell. Then it says, the current DB type is MySQL. Okay, so it's saying that a database that is used by the application is MySQL, and which flag allows you to enumerate only MySQL databases. Well, that is dash dash DBMS equals to MySQL. So we specify the database name to SQLMap using this flag. Then so SQLMap automatically recognizes that the backend, or you can say the server, that we are targeting is using MySQL. Okay, so now we have the SQLMap challenge here. I have already deployed the machine, and it says we have deployed an application to collect blood donations. This seems vulnerable. Exploit SQL injection vulnerability on the vulnerable application to find the flag. First task here is what is the name of the interesting directory. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Okay, so it's a simple Nginx page and nothing else. I always like to take a look at the page source to see if there are any hidden comments, and there are none. We can also try looking for robots or text if there is anything, and we can see there's nothing. Okay, it says that there's a blood donation site maybe, so we will use GoBuster here real quick. Then dash u to specify the URL that we want to scan, and then dash w to specify the word list, and then dash t to specify the thread, that is speed of the scan, and I'm using 100 threads here, so it speeds up the scan a lot. Okay, so it's gonna take a little bit of time, I guess. You can take a look here. It says we have deployed an application to collect blood donations. The request seems to be vulnerable. Okay, I have not solved this challenge yet, and I want to see if somehow I can okay, so you can see here SQLMap test. Maybe that directory exists here, maybe. And it says 44 not found. We can see here it says in the refer BL something like maybe it's blood or something. Okay, we can see in the refer it says blood, and then just PHP, not sure. Okay, so maybe it's blood. Oh, okay, my GoBuster also showed blood. I was pretty late. GoBuster won this time. Okay, so we have the blood here. So we could have solved this challenge without GoBuster also. Okay, so it says here, come on, we know you have got it new. Welcome to the database. And for advanced search, please log in or register. Okay, so we have this all. Let me launch the my burp suit. I'm really sorry, I should have launched it before. I know, I do not want to waste your time. Let's click on register. So here I'll say my full name is still, username is still noob, password, oops, okay, password is still noob also, and maybe we can skip all this. Click on register. Okay, we need to fill out those things also. That's at gmail.com, phone number, date of birth, not enough of that. 01/01/1999. Okay, so we have it registered. Let's click on login. Username is still noob, password is still noob. Okay, so this is welcome hackers to blood donation page. If you are willing to donate blood, then see donate save your life. Okay, if you're not here to save your life, and let's go to dashboard. There's nothing. Submit info maybe. That's a profile, I guess. Then we have blood.php. Let's see. Oh, okay, I see something. Okay, so when I click here, you can see the URL changing to id equals to 1. If I change to id equals to 2, then we can see others data, but there's no other user, so it's just blank, I guess. If I say 1, then I can see this user's data. If I add a comma here, it will crash. The query crashes and it outputs the SQL error. And we can see here it just shows that it is using MySQL server. So I'm gonna turn on the proxy here, and then turn on the intercept also. Refresh the page, and we have this. This is the get request. Take a look at this. And okay, let's save this item. I'm gonna save this in my folder named SQLMap, and I'll say it to be get request of blood page. So it makes a little bit sense. We can tap today. Okay, let's clear this out and SQLMap -r to specify the file that we are using, so that is get blood, and then I'll say -dbms to enumerate the databases. That's it, and it should give us something. Also, SQLMap performs a lot of scans. It says error -db request. Oh, okay. I passed on the wrong flag. It was -dbs. Okay, so it's scanning the target now, and you can see here it says get parameter ID might be injectable, and also it says that ID might be vulnerable to cross-site scripting attacks. And right now it's testing for the skill injection on get parameter ID, and it also says that the backend seems to be MySQL, which is true. And it says, do you want to skip test payload specific for other DBMSs? Of course we want to skip. And then it says, for remaining tests, do you include all tests for MySQL extending provided level 1 and risk? I'll just say yes. Okay, if you do not want all these pop-ups to come and ask you for your input, then you can specify the -batch flag, and these things will be automatically pre-filled. It will use the default values. Like the default one is the one that is in the capital letters, like Y is the default here, and also here the yes is the default. And if you see N being capital anywhere, then it means if you specify -batch, then it will go for the no there, because that's in capital and that's by default no. So we can see it's performing a couple of scans. This can take some time, so I'm gonna skip ahead and see you when it's done. Okay, so scan took almost, I guess, 5 to 10 minutes, and we have this. It identified the ID that it is vulnerable, and it is asking for that if you want to keep testing the other parameters. I will say no, because this ID is vulnerable and we want to exploit this. Here we can see the database names, the first one being blood and then test one. So first we want to go for the blood one. So I will say -d, specify the database name with -d and then blood. Then I will say look for the tables that are inside the blood, and then press enter. Here it says that there are 3 tables that are blood DB, flag, and users. Okay, so let's take a look at the task here. It says what is the name of the interesting directory. Interesting directory was blood because it gave us the panel of using it. Then it says who is the current DB user and what is the final flag. Okay, so we are looking for the flag here. So I'll say -d flag and then -- columns. So we are going for the black table and we need to know what columns are inside. So these are the columns inside, and we can see the first column is flag, then ID, and then dash, and then name. Okay, so here I'm gonna say -d flag and then -- so it will output everything that is inside the table and also the flag value. I'm not going to show the flag because that is not under the rules of TryHackMe write-up, so let's just skip this. Also, it is asking for what is the current user, so I will say -- current user. It says the current user is root @localhost. So let's say that is it's root, press enter, and we have it done. So this was it for the box, and I hope you learned something valuable. And also, as I told you, that this scan took a long time to perform for the first time when I used this command. So you can increase the speed of the scan by specifying the parameter name that you want to scan. So I'll say dash p, and the parameter name was it was id. So here I'll say id, and it will be a lot faster than the previous scan. So I hope this tutorial was somewhat helpful to you. If you want to know more about this SQLMap, how it works, and what are, all are the ways we can use it, you should must take a look at uh, the advanced help menu that is right here. And there are a lot of options. You may not have used all of them. Maybe try solving some TryHackMe rooms, and you will get familiar with it. In case of any questions, there is Discord link right down below this video in the description menu. You can join the server and ask any questions, and I will meet you there. See you next time.